Yo, what's up, guys? We're back at it again with another video. It's going to be another HunterXHunter chapter reaction. It's going to be to chapter 417, titled Contingency. I'm going to try to keep this one pretty quick. It's another pretty exposition-heavy chapter. 416, a lot more action-y, quicker pace. This one's a little stepping back again, where we're still getting a whole lot of interesting information. Very cool stuff, just a whole lot less action. We do start with a bit of action, but after that, it's pretty much just exposition. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We pick up exactly where we left off, actually with a really cool panel where we see Benjamin shooting, I would call it a machine gun style gun that has 3 different holes it looks like to shoot from. And it's just shooting a ton of metal balls that are, in this case, pretty much just like bullets, kind of like musket balls, I guess. And they absolutely tear through Saridnik. After this, it seems as though Benjamin walks up, and I will specifically say, using his left foot, he seems to step on the prince. My guess is either on his crotch or his stomach, based on positioning. While he's continuing to talk down to Saridnik and tell him how awful he is, he's a pox on society, he's a stain, and he's the one who consigned him to oblivion. The bottom of his boot is the last thing he'll see. He places his left boot above Saridnik's face and literally steps through his head. Or I guess we see later, not through it, he pretty much just squishes him. It's pretty disgusting. He then says, I figured you'd have a counter-style ability, kind of like, one of the have-nots in these other people, or Camilla, but it appears as though he doesn't. Now, while we know how Saridnik's ability works, I am still a little confused. Because while I don't know how long he continues to monologue for after this in real time, he starts explaining how Zetsu's dangerous, it turns off your guardian spirit beast as well, and then he starts telling all of his guards what we're going to do. He explains to Salkov that, hey, we're going to end up having a trial about all this, and when it comes up, you say exactly what you saw. I smoked Saridnik because he was a scumbag and because we already have cases against him. He's an awful human being, and he had to go. At this point, Salkov's thinking, look, the only way I can know if this is real, because Saridnik said that Benjamin and Saridnik said the same phrase. One of the last things Benjamin said was the same phrase that Saridnik had said to Salkov right before he was shot. Implying to Salkov, he's kind of thinking that this might not be a coincidence, right? So, well, it looks like he's dead and everything, since he had, since Saridnik had essentially said, hey, like, what you're gonna see isn't gonna be real, but everybody will think it is, so just go along with it, right? Salkov has no idea what's happening. Considering they had some of the same words said, Benjamin and him, that's making Salkov really think, well, the only way I'm going to know if he's dead and if this is a trick or some ruse is to go find Theta. Because if Theta still has that mark on her face that only Nin users can see and all, I'm guessing that must mean that he's still alive because it can continue to get worse. I'm guessing if he's taken care of, it'll all just go away. That's the exposition, or that's the explanation I got from what was being said. Benjamin then makes a move down towards the lower levels. He is heading towards the Justice Bureau. He wants to turn their courtrooms into a joint command center for his army and the Justice Bureau itself, because there's going to be a lot of trials, he's saying, that need to be held in the next time during martial law in order to get this whole situation dealt with. We then do see once he marches down the hallway a little ways, he separates off by himself. He pulls out another vial of TSK-17 from out of his pocket, and he does slide it into this insert in his right boot, which is why I specified earlier he used the left boot to step on Saridnik those times, specifically. This right boot is the same one we saw him walk in with Camilla and spray that little, like, that little sound effect that came out of his boot was from his right boot. And now we're seeing that he's plugging one of these into his right boot. My guess is replugging one in because he's going to use it. We actually do see later he uses it again. He ends up talking with a bunch of his guards, and he ends up in a room with Tubepa and, what is it, Prince... Who is she? It's Tubepa and... Gosh, I can't remember the other one's name. Forgive me. Tyson. But he ends up spraying it in there too, again with his right boot. While he's talking to them, at one point we get a panel where he steps down. We get that same sound effect. Glob has come to see us. It's my cat. And that's how he plans to not only take out Camilla, but also to take out Tyson and Tubepa. While he's heading down to meet up with Tyson and Tubeppa, though, to do this, he's getting information from his guards, kind of getting an idea of where everybody is. He finds out that Zanglei is missing. He finds out that Loserus is missing. He says to go ahead and catch the 2 Mafia bosses that are related to them, the Char R, and I believe it's the GU. And then once we take their bosses in, tell them, look, you tell us where the princes are, or we're taking you in for treason. And then once that's said, at least we know Unyor actually tells us about the passageway that Zonglei used, and we hear that some of Benjamin's guards are heading down that same passageway and heading for Zonglei, and they'll give an update to him. We don't hear the same about Loserus, but I'm guessing the same is essentially going to happen, where his father is going to have to tell him what happened, otherwise he's going to be taken in for treason or killed. He's also it's also explained to us that 2 of Benjamin's guards are also being held currently in the mess hall because for not exactly treason, but for working against Benjamin. One is Balsamico, who Benjamin trusts and already understands the situation that his body was taken over. And the other one is Coventaba. And Coventaba, if we remember, is the one who had one of Zonglei's coins. Apparently, after 10 days, where it has a 10 on it, Zonglei is then able to use it in some way to make them confess all of their information to him. So he pretty much gave all the information he had about the current situation and everything that was going to be going on, like the whole plan. And because of that, Zonglei was able to use that to escape ahead of time. So that's how Zonglei was able to kind of get the heads up and get out of there. So Coventaba and Balsamico are both kind of worried that they're kind of like traitors. They don't know how to feel. They think they could be used again at any moment to hurt Benjamin, and they don't want that, so they think they should be held. Benjamin's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. We don't have enough time. I'm already dying myself. I've got a curse on me. I've got TSK in me. I'm pretty much getting, like, killed right now. And gosh knows, Furykov's curse that was put on him by Beyond could get me too. So at this point, I really need to, like, get this dealt with. I need you guys working with me. It was, you guys were fighting alongside me. They used you guys to attack me because you're close to me. That's the way it's going to work. Good soldiers like you guys, it's because, you know, you feel this way that I know that I can trust you, right? And we're good to go. So he just gives them jobs to go back to doing. While he's meeting with Tyson and Tubeppa, though, he explains to them essentially, look, Kurapika's explained that if multiple people live, we might end up losing all of our power in the Empire, but that still is a choice where multiple of us can live, so I think we should all be brought together to see, you know, take a vote and see what the thought process is there, right? But he says, but I'm afraid some will refuse to entertain the idea, and it's when he's saying that he actually sprays the TSK-17 to affect both Tyson and Tubeppa. Tubeppa realizes that there's no way that this could be true, that Benjamin is the closest to the throne and benefits the most from even the whole situation at hand, and there's no way that he would just willingly let multiple live and let the government, let their, you know, their empire be destroyed, considering Benjamin is like, that's his whole thing, is his loyalty to Kakin and to his bloodline, right? So she very clearly sees that he's doing something, that there's an ulterior motive here, that there's something else that he's doing, but she can't figure out what it is, but she's very suspicious. She does mention that if he was taken out and a lot of the other higher-up princes were taken out, then maybe that would be a viable option for that agreement between some of the other princes to have and just decide, you know, screw the Empire, we don't care, we'll lose power. But without Benjamin being taken out and some of the other big princes, that's not going to matter at all. But Tubeppa is curious, and she can see that Benjamin's planning something here. We then continue on. Benjamin continues to travel down. We're actually getting close to where he's at the Justice Bureau, which was what we saw in Chapter 410 at the end of the last batch, where he met up with Botobai and our Cow Zodiac, forgive me, Mizai I think is his name. Mizai I think is his name, something like that. We're getting close to where we meet back up with them. But Benjamin's walking along with Coventaba and Balsamico, and while he's walking, you know, he gives them the whole talk about how, look, I'm going to give you these jobs to do. I trust you guys. He tells them to use Gyo. They do, and they can actually see the Have-Nots curse from Camilla on him. He explains that TSK-17's got him left with half a day to live. And honestly, Beyond's curse could kill him at any moment. He says, but isn't this exciting? The guards agree. He gets them to do their whole little, you know, we are a team, we are a one army squad nonsense. Kind of a cool panel. I don't really care for their factions. I mean, it's cool bro shit, I guess, that they're all bros and they really care about each other that much, but they're still not great people. We continue on. We see Unyor taken, and like I had already explained, he gives away Zonglei's about the passage. We then get a monologue from Benjamin talking about how if multiple princes survive, that would be the darkest timeline they could be in. He's wondering if all of them dying would do the same thing. He believes that it would actually not be the case, but either way, if it got to that point, the national emergency law would go into effect no matter what, even if it's during the secession battle, and it would take control rather than the secession battle would become the new, like, most important thing. And it's if the monarch, as well as for successors eligible for the throne, are dead or face inevitable death through unavoidable attacks such as a bomb, epidemic, riot. I read that as rot in my read through too, or natural disaster, that the leading current king gets to choose who the next successors are. Essentially, the next king would be, because in that case, the king then also has to die, and then once him and all the other possible successors have died, this new successor will take over. We then kind of get to see how Camilla's trying to figure out how she could stop the disease. She's, trying to use all her resources to find a way to stop it. Benjamin believes that's impossible. He thinks back on killing Saridnik, realizes how easy that was, and he's so happy about it. I still don't think Saridnik's dead, but we'll see. He thinks about Tubepa and Tyson, says he actually has no qualms with them whatsoever, and he doesn't really, want them to die, but they're not king material, and therefore they have to die in order for him to be able to make sure he's able to do what he needs to do, and that he's able to take over. He even says it's the same way with Fugetsu. Since Kacho died, she's pretty much just been close to death herself. He then gets a monologue on Wobble. He does say, what I will say, he does seem to genuinely not hate all of his sibling, so I don't hate Benjamin as a character. He does care. He does genuinely care. He hopes that Fugetsu is born into a normal family in her next life, because she would have been happier that way. So it's at least a nice sentiment. Then on to Wobble and 8th Queen Oito. He explains that, look, the whole thing that happened, I get it. You being shoved into a situation with just a baby, and you being a mother, and you want to protect that and all, like, I get that. So, if it's found that you guys tricked us and you guys switched the babies and they're on board and you're trying to pull a ruse with eligibility in order to make sure that, Wobble or the other baby who tried to enter the contest, whoever, if one of them, you guys are trying to trick us so that way one of them can win, we're going to kill the babies and all of you. Your entire clan. Everybody related to you is dead. But if not, and we find that you only did this, and the prince is not here, so he's ineligible, and the only reason that you did this was to protect your children, and the other sister was willing to potentially let her child die for this, right? Which is kind of what's going on with them switching their baby. Then instead, because that's such a hard choice, and they're dealing with, some real shit having to take part in this, he'll instead just pardon them and exile them, rather. So that they won't kill them, but they will be exiled from the country. They will not be allowed to live in Kakin anymore. And that's actually a pretty reasonable thing, I'd say, for Benjamin to do. He then thinks back on how the rest of the Emergency Act works, how if everybody is going to die, right, it's unavoidable. The current king will immediately name the next successor in order and prepare for a contingency plan. So Benjamin thinks, before I die, I've got to eliminate the rest of the princes who I haven't already infected. I've got to kill them or I've got to infect them. And that is, it's Hockenberg, Loserus, Zonglei, and Miriam are the 4 that he's thinking of, because the way he sees it, Wobble's kind of already dealt with. Fugetsu's essentially dealt with. I think he's thinking she's just going to die naturally, but if not, he's just thinking he's going to take her out by poison, is what he said. They're going to think it's suicide, but she's going to be poisoned to death. And then this is the coolest thing in this chapter, probably, guys. We get to figure out what Prince Benjamin's Guardian Spirit Beast ability, and it's called Gypsy Life Bohemian Rhapsody. So, shout out to Tagashi for being a Queen fan. It's pretty dope. I hear Araki's the same way. He likes that shit too. Queen's great, honestly. But the way it works, after Benjamin's death, it fuses with his nin and selects one of his blood relatives, and it becomes a Guardian Spirit Beast to them. But once this happens, Benjamin loses his chance for secession, because he's dead, and being a part of a beast does not allow you a chance to become the king yourself. The criteria for selecting which relative to haunt can be determined by Benjamin ahead of time, or left to his Guardian Spirit Beast's discretion. Forever after, the same criteria will be used every time the host dies, and a new host must be chosen. So Benjamin can either choose the criteria ahead of time, or it'll be left up to his beast to decide. But either way, even if the next one he takes over dies, he'll go to the next one, and he'll keep going. He's essentially going to become a Guardian Spirit Beast to protect the current king and every king onward forever for Kakin. The only way this can happen, though, based on what we understand, is if he's able to die now before Beyond's able to use the curse on Furykov to kill him. Because depending on how the curse works, Furykov's curse, the curse on Furykov by Beyond could be used to render his guardian spirit beast useless. And that would make Benjamin die for nothing. What Benjamin is so angry about going into the end of this chapter is that his own mother had a treacherous plot, right, where she used Furykov to set up this whole scenario where he's going to have to die. Because she instead, once she realized that because of Beyond, right, that there's no guarantee that her son's, going to be able to, Benjamin is going to be able to take over anymore, she seemed to switch over to Hockenberg as her selected son. Is the what I'm getting, the how it seems to be given to me here, what I'm understanding. So his plan is to go to his mother, who he sees as a traitor, and tell her, look, it's your life or it's the life of my brother. Make your choice. So it's either you can protect Hockenberg, right, and I'll kill you here, or you can give up Hockenberg and then you get to live. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that works out. He's probably going to smoke his own mom. But that's the understanding I got from it. And that's actually how the chapter ends. So we're assuming he's going to end up dealing with his mom shortly. But we are definitely working through the princes with Tubepa, Camilla, and Tyson all poisoned, and Saradnik dead. Though Saradnik's not dead. There's no way. Fugetsu's half dead. The Wobble situation making us not sure if they're eligible. Most of the princes guys have been taken care of. At this point, it really is those main 4 left. So Benjamin's looking pretty good, dusting up some of the princes in this chapter. We're just waiting, and what I'm thinking though is odds are Tubepa, being the science person that she is, and with her guardian spirit beast, it's probably gonna find a way somehow to cure her or make a antibody or a cure for this virus for the TSK. And once that's found, odds are Tyson will be safe too. Any of the other princes that get poisoned like this may get the same treatment. Benjamin won't. I'm assuming Camilla won't, because Tubepa doesn't like either of the higher princes. And if Saradnik were infected, but he's not, right, it would have been a good idea for him to just honestly infect him too. Benjamin's own pride and hate for Saradnik is going to be what probably is his downfall. Because Saradnik's going to end up being the one to live after all these other princes get dealt with. I bet he's going to be still alive, but in a coffin. Them thinking he's dead, and he's going to rise up and be like, see, my ability works differently than y'all thought, though. Or my ability was working, and you didn't realize it. And now that, Benjamin's going to be down dying, all the other princes are going to be dying, right, from the disease. They're all fucked. He's just going to rise up and just take over. That is my bet. And then Benjamin is going to be attached to Saradnik as his guardian spirit beast and be forced to help his own brother, who he hated the most out of all of his siblings and thought was a complete freaking, like a pox, a stain, a disease, to Kakin. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. It's going to be real awful for Benjamin. He's going to hate it. But that's what I'm thinking Togashi's going to do to him. So you heard it here first. If that's what happens, I saw it coming. But that's the end of the chapter, guys. I really did hope you enjoyed. I'll be back around with chapter 418 in about a week when it comes out. So we'll just go from there on that. I'll try to get out another One Piece video soon, but I believe we're on break this week. I think we didn't get one saying it from Oda at the end of the chapter, but I think we get a Shonen Jump break this week. Not sure, but I think so. But if you guys like the video, go ahead and leave a like down below. Comment. Let me know what you guys think is going to go down here. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen at this point. I'm pretty certain. But we'll see. And then if you haven't subscribed to the channel, so that way you don't miss anything I upload. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.